worry about going to like domes and playing where it's hot. We're out here in the black.
Ben Roethlisberger telling you all you need to know, saying watch the mouth of Matt Hasselbeck. It's hot. And it is. I don't know that the temperature does it justice. It is humid down there on the field. Steelers in their black jerseys, and a great moment here as they are honoring the 75-year history of this terrific franchise. Chuck Noll with his 4 Super Bowl rings. Mike Tomlin, who is the current head coach, applauding the legend. This crowd went nuts here at Heinz Field when they introduced Chuck Noll, as they should. And in this game, it'll be the Seahawks receiving the opening kick. Look at that picture. That's how hot it is. Who's that? He's got the biggest legs, by the way, of any NFL kicker in the history of the NFL. Off we go. Obamanu will watch it go into the end zone, and that's about as perfect as you can kick it. A little scary if it goes out of bounds. Seattle gets it at the 40. Instead, it's right into the front corner of the end zone, and Matt Hasselbeck and the Seahawks will start at their own 20. Hasselbeck in Super Bowl 40 threw for 273 yards, a touchdown, and interception. And it was the first time in the history of the Super Bowl where the losing team had more total yards and takeaways than the winning team. First play is going to be a throw, maybe. Out of the backfield, it's Alexander, and he goes 2. Brought down by Higgins.
Yeah, you talk about that Super Bowl game a couple of seasons ago, and you know, a lot of times when a team is getting ready to play a similar opponent, they don't really want to go back and look at a game like that, you know, where it brings up a lot of bad memories. But Matt Hasselbeck, along with the rest of this team, they did go back, they watched the tape, because a lot of the things that Pittsburgh is doing defensively this year are the same things that they were doing in that Super Bowl game 2 years ago.
Even with Tomlin as head coach, a former defensive coordinator, Dick LeBeau has been set free to do his thing. Pass complete to Deion Branch, brings up 3rd down and short. That's interesting to me that Tomlin is known for what he brings defensively, whether it's with the Tampa Bay Bucks or last year as coordinator of the Vikings, but he gets here and he's willing to step aside and let Dick LeBeau do his thing.
I think it says a lot about Mike Tomlin, because you know, when you come in as a head coach, you want to kind of put your stamp on the team, but he liked what Dick LeBeau's been doing here defensively and the way that Pittsburgh's been playing. As well he should. He said any changes that I might have made would have purely been ego-driven.
3rd down and 3. Quick setup and throw, and that's the fullback Weaver, and he lunges forward for a 1st down. Picked up 5, and Weaver's getting more and more worked into this offense. A former linebacker who's still learning the position and almost got cut at the end of training camp.
Yeah, they thought they were going to have a role for him when they went into the preseason. He did not play well. In fact, as you said, Joe, almost did not even make this team, but it's a good thing that he did, because they feel that he's going to be able to relieve that guy some, Max Strong, who's in his 15th season.
That's Maurice Morris in motion. 1st down, Seattle. And that's Morris down the sideline, overthrown. Covered by Higgins, the linebacker, and Maurice Morris right out of the backfield down the sideline. Was open, but Hasselbeck overshot him.
A little interesting what Seattle is doing here offensively. I know that we talked about it coming into this game, that Mike Holmgren said that they felt that they needed to run the ball more effectively if they're going to have a chance to win this game. Yet they've come right out of the box and they've thrown the ball 4 consecutive times.
It's about quality, Troy. It's not about quantity. There you go. That'll make you happy. Alexander over the right side. Will that make Holmgren happy? He picks up 6. Why not? Not a bad first run.
And he's the guy they've really got to be able to get going, Joe. And I don't know that it's going to happen here today. You see there his left hand. He's got what is called a soft cast. He injured his hand in the first game of the season, and he hasn't been the same since. Because it's his left hand, he's carrying the ball exclusively in his right arm. He's not accustomed to doing that. He's a running back who does change possessions with the ball. The biggest problem is how he braces himself when he falls. He's reluctant to do that there with the left hand.
Play clock at 1, 3rd down. Hasselbeck fires and out of the reach of Nate Burleson. 4th down. Hasselbeck misses a couple of open receivers on this first possession, and it's time for a Seattle punt.
Well, good stop there for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and clearly you want to kind of set the tempo. You're right. Matt Hasselbeck had an opportunity there to pick up the first down with a better throw, but a nice stop and a nice series there for the Steelers defensively.
Allen Rossum has a kick return for a touchdown, hasn't done anything returning punts yet. And Plaquemire hits an ugly one on a line from the 25. And Rossum gets out to the 33. 9-yard return. Laurie on the stop. Pittsburgh has it. First time today. No score in the Steel City. Good day to be out on the river. Whichever one you want to pick around this city. Football crazed fans in what is a great sports complex. Looking back into the city of Pittsburgh. They have got 2 beautiful stadiums. PNC Park for the Pirates. Heinz Field for Roethlisberger and the Steelers. Boy, they get quiet for their offense here. And Roethlisberger, after a play action, completes it to Nate Washington. First down, a 13-yard completion, and applause from Big Ben.
Well, that's a nice start when you're able to move the pocket just a little bit. And Ben Roethlisberger, unlike some other quarterbacks, very comfortable moving to his left. Nate Washington, who's getting his start because of the injured Hines Ward, making a nice grab there.
Set. Kick it. Black box. Black box.
On first down, it's Willie Parker. Willie picks up 2. You mentioned it at the top. Parker was the top running back first 3 weeks across the NFL, and then last week this offense laid an egg for Parker. 19 carries, 37 yards, which is staggering for one of the league's best.
Yeah, they were just unable to get him going at any point really in that ball game, and one of the big reasons was Arizona did a nice job of stunning and twisting and blitzing and filling the gaps in the running lanes, and I would expect Seattle to try to use the same scheme. Hand
off to Parker, and he is swallowed up in the backfield. Julian Peterson, who had a big week last week against his former team, the 49ers, in to make the stop, a loss of 4.
Yeah, Julian Peterson, I mean, he is such a versatile player and can do so many different things. Even there, he was really designed, if it had been a pass, he would have been into coverage there, but he's able to come up and make a play there behind the line. And, you know, this is an undersized group, an undersized front 7 defensively, and so they're going to create a lot of movement in order to try to hold up to some of the size of this Steelers offensively.
Santonio Holmes is out for the moment with a hamstring injury, so that's another big weapon that's lost, along with Hines Ward, as Roethlisberger looking for somewhere to go with it. Hits Davenport, and he's swallowed up immediately. A gain of 7. Kelly Jennings on the tackle. 4th down, Pittsburgh.
The Seattle defense, I think this is going to be a good matchup for them today. I know coming in, you know, obviously Pittsburgh is the better known defense between these two teams, but Seattle, they started coming on last year defensively, played pretty well, and then this year they have played well also, probably coming off their best game of the season last week there against San Francisco.
A rookie, Sepulveda, with a punt. Puts the nose of the football down, and he almost had that one blocked. Fair catch, caught by Burleson. 33-yard punt. Herring almost got in there and blocked it. Second possession for the Seahawks, no score. I think the first stop for the team bus for the Seahawks when they got to Pittsburgh was to Home Depot. A makeshift shade, a little tent over there for Brian Russell and the rest of the defense to try and cool off under.
How nice is that?
Look at that.
You know, when the offense was over there, they even had that for the offensive line. Now that's criminal.
Need a Mai Tai. Hand off to Alexander, and he's got nowhere to go. Let's go down to the field and Pam Oliver.
Well, Joe, Sean Alexander is probably a couple of weeks away from losing that cumbersome cast as that crack on his left wrist heals. Then doctors have been able to shear down some of the size and bulk of it, making it a little bit more comfortable. Talking to running backs coach Stump Mitchell before the game, he says Alexander really isn't burdened by it in terms of just how it's affecting him mentally. If anything, he's been more focused on protecting the ball better. Back to you.
All right, Pam, 2nd down and 9. Hasselbeck with all day throws it away. Max Strong was the closest one to it, but he was covered by Higgins, and it was there was just nowhere to go.
No, but it really is remarkable how well this offensive line has protected Matt Hasselbeck. I mean, for him to be able to stand back there and really look over the field the way that not only he did on that play, but on previous plays, and then even last week against a defense that likes to come after the quarterback, this offensive line has really been solid in pass protection.
And they're the only team in the NFL without an offensive holding penalty. 3rd down and 9. Over the middle, Ingram is smacked, and he hangs on. Ryan Clark laid the wood to Bobby Ingram, and somehow Ingram, with what he does typically every week, a 1st down catch.
Well, here's another example of the protection, and this is when Pittsburgh likes to get into a lot of exotic looks, is on 3rd down, so it's not always easy to pick these guys up, but the middle of the field was the open area for Hasselbeck. They're able to get Ingram in there. Takes a big hit, but not until after he picks up the 1st down.
Well, they really missed Bobby Ingram last year. Missed 9 games with a thyroid condition. Alexander with some blocking out in front of him over the left side. Picks up 3. Let's go to Kurt Menefee for a game break.
All right, Joe, first score of the day. Tennessee's Lendale White on the carry. Gets stripped by the rookie Jamal Anderson. Easy pickings for D'Angelo Hall. No one in front of him, everyone behind him. Falcons go up 7-0. We've got another update coming your way in 7 minutes or less. Joe, Troy, and Pat.
All right. For more information on that game, Falcons and Titans, you can go to foxsports.com or NFL.com. Here it's 2nd and 7. Hasselbeck, Branch, picked off for a moment and then dropped by Ike Taylor. He'd like to have that one back in his hands and then out. 3rd and 7.
Yeah, that was interesting. I don't know that Deion Branch really thought that Hasselbeck was going to go his way. I think he felt that he was just clearing that zone out. And it wasn't until he turned around and saw the ball that was in the air. Ike Taylor, who had help over the top from the safety, was playing the ball perfectly and missed out on a great opportunity.
Taylor has 1 pick. Almost had his 2nd, and now Seattle faced with a 3rd down. They're 2 for 3 on 3rd down so far. Play clock is at 1 when they snap it. Hasselbeck airs it out. Ingram down the middle, overthrown. Couple different levels, Troy, defensively. Up front, they're not getting home and pressuring Hasselbeck. But in the secondary, they're covering the heck out of these Seattle wide receivers.
They're doing a good job, and I don't know that Mike Holmgren expected that to be the case. I think on that last play, Hasselbeck was in a rush to get the ball snapped before the play clock hit 0. They might have had a shot, but that one got away from Matt.
Blackemeyer hits it, and not so good. Hasselbeck has had plenty of time. That's one of the reasons why he's frustrated. Can't find anywhere to throw it. Still no score. One of the captains for the Seahawks, Matt Hasselbeck, on the phone trying to figure out where to go with the football as he talks to the coaching staff up top.
You know, Roger Goodell implemented that this year, that each team is required to select captains, and that's why they've got the C on their jersey. I like that. A lot like what they're doing in the NHL, but I think it's good.
1st down and play action. Roethlisberger overthrows his tight end Heath Miller.
Hey, Heath Miller, he's one of those tight ends that probably doesn't get talked a lot about when you're talking about some of the really great receiving tight ends in this league. But I think that he should be, and maybe his numbers aren't where someone like Antonio Gates or Jason Witten and Tony Gonzalez and all of those guys are. But he does something that a lot of them can't do, and he's an exceptional blocker. And with a running game like Pittsburgh, you need to have a tight end that can block the point of attack, and he's one of those guys that can do that.
142. Wide, 42.
Hand off to Parker. Parker dragged down by Terrell. Gain of 6. And it's 3rd down.
I thought it was interesting, Joe, when the change in staff took place, and then Ken Wisenhunt went on to Arizona, and Bruce Arians, who had been the wide receivers coach, took over as the offensive coordinator. I really thought that they were going to become more of a passing team. I know Ben Roethlisberger has said that he wants to shoulder more of the burden offensively, but instead they've actually become more of a running team. And in talking with him, he said that's what he wants to do. He wants to run the ball like they have run it in the past. The only difference being he probably likes to take a few more shots down the field.
Out of the shotgun, Roethlisberger throws, and incomplete. Great coverage by Trufant, working on Cedric Wilson. And again, the Steelers are playing without Hines Ward, and for the moment without Santonio Holmes, who's out with a hamstring he hurt in pregame warmups.
Well, and Marcus Trufant has really come on this year, and last week he had a couple of interceptions, and the criticism of him has been that he hasn't been real good at playing the ball when it's in the air. He was in good coverage there, but had he have gotten his head around a little earlier, he in fact might have had an interception as well.
Sepulveda hits a spiral. Good punt. And from inside the 10, Burleson takes it and dives forward out across the 20. They will mark him at the 23. 3rd possession for Seattle. They haven't done much with it yet. Still no score. Well, you want to see a guy get worked over on special teams. How about William Gay for the Steelers?
Well, and William Gay, I mean, you take a look at it. They're waiting on him to get back onto the playing field so they can work him over a little bit more, and his helmet's going to come flying off. And, William Gay, he got drafted. He's a corner. I mean, a rookie corner, but you got to buy your time there on special teams. And usually those guys didn't play a lot of special teams in college.
Here's Burleson with a catch, a run. He had Obamanu out in front of him blocking, a gain of 8.
By Carter and
2nd down and 2. That was Babineau and Kevin Hobbs, who was just activated, working over William Gay. 2nd down and 2 for Seattle. Both teams so far have thrown it more than they've run it. Handoff is to Alexander, and he has a 1st down for Seattle. Clark on the stop. And a fresh set of downs for the Seahawks.
Well, I know we've talked a little bit about Matt Hasselbeck and how well he is playing. I mean, you look at the start that he's had here over the first 4 games of the season, and it's as good a start as he's had at any point during his career.
Alexander again, nowhere to go. Wrapped up, thrown for a loss, and that was Aaron Smith, the defensive end, making the play. No gain.
You think of the runs that Sean Alexander has had when he's been able to have some success. He's a guy who likes to bounce things to the outside, or he's looking for the cutback. And you can tell here he's looking for a cutback, but there's nowhere for him to run. And one of the reasons why he has struggled this year is there has not been that cutback lane. He is not a downhill runner, and there's just been not a lot of holes for him.
2nd down and 10. And that's Weaver, the fullback, and he goes nowhere. Harrison made the play, and it's 3rd and 10.
There's Pittsburgh defense, and what they've been able to do this year, particularly in the first half, they have not given up a touchdown in the first half, and they've only given up 6 points in the first half of those games. And so, other than last week, in those previous games, when you're able to score some points of your own offensively and get a nice little lead, that goes a long way.
False start against Seattle.
False start. Offense. Number 75. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
They get Sean Locklear, the right tackle.
You know, Pittsburgh defensively on third down, whenever an offense goes to their 3 wide receiver packages or their 4 wide receiver packages, Dick LeBeau likes to bring in, obviously, the matchups within the secondary, but then he starts deploying linebackers, and even Brett Kiesel, a defensive end, is a guy who's very active on third downs all over the field. Here he is.
Comes on a rush on 3rd and 15. Hasselbeck buying time, and he just has nowhere to go with it. This has been an impressive start for the secondary of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And to think that they're doing it without their all-pro safety, Troy Polamalu, and what kind of impact that would have on him. Really nowhere to go with the football. Once Hasselbeck gets outside the pocket, he continually looks down the field for an open receiver. You see Nate Burleson there, but he was on the other side of the field. You're right, Joe. This Steelers secondary has held up very well.
They're without Bryant McFadden, who has a high ankle sprain, but the rest are in and playing well. Good punt by Plaquemire, his best. And from the 20, going backward is Rossum. A 51-yard punt and a flag at the end. Obamanu on the tackle. Second flag of the day.
During return, illegal block in the back. Receiving team, number 15. Half the distance to the goal. First down, timeout.
So Willie Reed is guilty of the block in the back, and that will move the ball back toward the Steelers' end zone. They'll start with it inside their own 10. So far, 4 first downs in this first quarter and 5 total punts. From just inside the 10, the Steelers start with it. Third time with the football. Willie Parker gets it, and Tutupu closed in on it and made the play. A gain of only 2. So not only is Hines Ward out for the 2nd straight week, he's on the right, but they lose Santonio Holmes in pregame warmups. He pulls a hamstring on this hot, humid day in Pittsburgh, and they're starting to work their way down the depth chart on offense.
Well, that's a huge blow, losing Santonio Holmes. I mean, Hines Ward is as well, but last week without Ward, Holmes had arguably his best game of his short career. They certainly could use him today.
2nd down and 8, and Willie Parker. Running game for each side is doing 0. 3rd and long coming up. Kurt Menefee, a game break.
Well, Lendell White fumbled earlier to give the Falcons a touchdown, so Chris Brown is now in. He holds on, scores from 3 yards out. Titans take the 7-7 tie into the late first quarter. How you like that, Joe, Troy, and Pam?
That's called talking your way out of a little twister. Good work, Kurt. We'll be back with you shortly, I know. Here, there's been virtually no offense. 3rd down and 8. Looked like he was going to throw quick, pulls it down, buys some time, and overthrows Reed. Willie Reed with a diving try, and we've seen both quarterbacks come off the field thoroughly frustrated so far today.
Well, yeah, and because you're going to see Lofa Tutupu, the middle linebacker, look like he was going to be coming on the blitz, but instead he pulls out. So Ben Roethlisberger, that's where he wanted to go with the football. He sees Tutupu come out underneath that route, gets off of it, and you look at Pittsburgh, what they've been able to do the first 4 games of the season. They've been outstanding on 3rd down. They've not yet converted one today.
Sepulveda hits a bomb. What a punt. Burleson on the return. Nate Burleson with a good return, and Sepulveda, the punter, forces him out of bounds. A 56-yard punt, but a 22-yard return by Nate Burleson.
And congratulations to the Arizona Diamondbacks.
And the Colorado Rockies, who have won 17 of their last 18 games. And you talk about exciting and a young team. They are stocked with young talent. Quick setup and throw. Deion Branch to the 39 of the Steelers. Let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Hey, Joe, for the last couple of times the Steelers secondary came off the field, they all gathered in a circle and held hands seemingly to pray. Coach Mike Tomlin stopped by to give that group a couple of words of encouragement, even a warning. He said, look for Seattle to go more to the screen game. Tomlin cautioned that Seattle tends to do that whenever they start off too slowly. Back to you.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that as well. And we've been impressed with the start defensively by the Steelers. A yard shy of a first down is Sean Alexander.
And that doesn't come as a surprise either, Joe. I mean, I think Seattle, we said it coming into the game that there are some things that Pittsburgh does defensively that they felt like they've got a good feel for. But you still have to be able to go out and execute against that. And I think when you look at what the Steelers have been about this year and in previous years, they don't give up a lot of big yards. I mean, they make you earn everything that you get.
A quick hitter to the up back, Leonard Weaver, and Weaver picks up a first down for Seattle.
Weaver on the carry.
Meanwhile, James Harrison is slow to get up at the end of that play. Well, there's Casey Hampton, and physically you're looking at a unique athlete and a guy who really plugs up the middle in this 3-4 defense for Dick LeBeau. Seneca Wallace is in the lineup and at the top of your screen. Backup quarterback and wide out, and that's a false start. Deion Branch moved too soon.
Well, Matt
False
Hasselbeck.
start. Offense. Number 83. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Matt Hasselbeck not real happy about that because they get Seneca Wallace in the game. He's only going to have a few opportunities in this game to get on the field, and he got the one-on-one coverage that they were wanting. So it looked like Hasselbeck was set to go in his direction, only to have Deion Branch moving before the snap.
Pittsburgh 40-yard line.
Max Strong is out for the moment with a stinger, and we shoot on into the second quarter here in Pittsburgh. It'll be 1st and 15 for Seattle when we come back. No score. NFL on Fox will continue right after this. When you're injured and you've got a bad knee, there's no reason why you can't be the water boy. There's a 4-time Pro Bowler who's handing water out to anybody who'll take it. Play action from Hasselbeck on 1st and 15, end zone. Nothing there, and nearly picked off again by Ike Taylor. Obamanu, the intended receiver. And Ike Taylor has been like a blanket on whoever's come into his neighborhood so far.
Yeah, and I think that you're starting to see maybe some of the frustration with Matt Hasselbeck because there was no chance here. I mean, this is basically just a jump ball opportunity, and because he did throw it to the inside, Ike Taylor then became the offensive player with the best opportunity to make the play. Should have had the interception. Obamanu, all he can do is try to break it up. A ball that probably shouldn't have been thrown.
2nd and 15. Handoff to Alexander. He gets swallowed up by Deshae Townsend. Let's go for a game break. Here's Kurt.
Well, Joe, a scary moment for Trent Green. The Miami quarterback tries to throw a block, but accidentally takes a knee to the head from Travis Johnson. He lay on the ground for several minutes before eventually being carted off. We'll give you an update on his condition just as soon as we get one. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
Oh. We'll be looking for that update. 3rd down and 13. Pressure on Hasselbeck. Slips, and Ferrier's there to stay on top. A loss of 7, and the Seattle offense is going backward.
Well, again, that's where Pittsburgh gets very tough, is on 3rd down. You're going to see Ferrier. He's going to come off the bottom of your screen, and Sean Locklear, he just can't get out to him in time. And then, of course, Matt Hasselbeck trying to get back up inside the pocket. He slips and makes for an easy sack.
Now Plaquemire puts the nose of the football down, hits it, and Obamanu saves it. Well covered by the Seattle coverage unit, and they're going to mark it down. It'll be Pittsburgh's ball And they're going to mark it down at about the 1.5. Obamanu did keep his feet off the goal line. Well played. That Roger Goodell autographed football is placed at the 1. And for as good as the Steelers defense has been, Seattle's has been even better. Their first play for the Steelers, a 14-yard pass to Nate Washington. Since 9 plays, 13 yards. Willie Parker buys a little breathing room. Kearney and Peterson on the stop. And well, if you wanted to see good defense, this is the place to stop on your television, because these have been 2 efforts that have been swarming so far.
Yeah, and I don't know that we really, I mean, when we came in and we're talking about the injuries to some of those defensive players that Pittsburgh has, and you know, kind of expected Seattle to be able to do a little bit more than what they've been able to do on the offensive side of the ball. But you're right. I mean, Seattle defensively, you know, this offense so many times overshadows the defense, but the defense has been terrific.
Trying to set up a wide receiver screen, and there's nothing much there either. Nate Washington picks up 3, and it'll be 3rd down.
And they're crowding the box. I mean, Seattle is committed to stopping the running game of Pittsburgh. They know that last week, the way in which Arizona was able to win that game was shut down Willie Parker and make Ben Roethlisberger beat you. And I know in talking with John Marshall, the defensive coordinator for Seattle, he said basically that's the blueprint for us. We're going to stack the box, slow down Willie Parker, and see if we can make Ben Roethlisberger deliver the football if they're going to win the game.
3rd down and 3. Roethlisberger fires and hits Reed. A missed tackle, and Willie Reed is out across the 30. Kelly Jennings missed a tackle, and a 25-yard catch and run by Willie Reed.
That's a big first down, because now they give themselves a little bit more room. I mean, when you're backed up like that, you want to reestablish field position. Kelly Jennings missing the tackle, and then Willie Reed able to get a few extra yards, but a nice conversion there on 3rd down for the Steelers when they really needed one.
It's only the 2nd Steeler first down. The drive that started at the 1 is now out to the 33. Pass is complete. Cedric Wilson, good for 8.
Roethlisberger's pass, complete to number 80. Cedric Wilson.
So Cedric Wilson playing in place of Santonio Holmes. Nate Washington got the start in place of Hines Ward, and we've seen a lot of Willie Reed, who Roethlisberger told you reminds him a lot of a bigger Antoine Randall L.
Yeah, they feel that he can really go up and make some of the tough catches, and you know, we saw that he can be difficult to tackle, as we saw there on that 3rd down play.
2nd down and 2. Willie Parker brought down very close to the marker. If you believe our line, and it's usually awfully accurate, they're a couple of inches short, and there's Deion Branch, who now has to get carted off for Seattle.
Well, Deion Branch, I mean, you can't say enough what he has meant to this team over the last 3 games. You know, obviously came in last year after the season got underway, as he was starting to get more and more acclimated with Matt Hasselbeck. Then Hasselbeck goes down with a knee injury, and so they never really got their timing down. They got to go through an offseason together, and we've seen the rapport that they've been able to establish. But with him going down, I mean, you look at this receiving group then, and you know, who then is going to be the guy that Matt Hasselbeck is going to have the confidence in? Clearly Bobby Ingram is that guy, but he's not someone who's going to create big play potential.
The word on Branch is a sprained foot. Seattle gave up a 1st-round pick to get him from New England last year. Picked him up in the 2nd week of the season, not active till the 3rd, and he has been one of the best receivers in the league, as you say, Troy, the last 3 weeks. On 3rd and inches, Roethlisberger keeps it, and it depends on the spot.
Roethlisberger.
1st down, Pittsburgh. Terry McCauley makes the call without the chains.
You take a look at Lofa Tatupu and him trying to get in there and do anything that he can to keep Roethlisberger. You just got to get a little lower than that. Usually, I know from experience as a quarterback, when you're running the quarterback sneak, you're not running in there straight up and down, because guys like him will take your head off.
Lofa's dad used to do that as a fullback at USC, going up and over. From the 43. First down, Pittsburgh. Roethlisberger pulls it down and is just happy to hang on to the ball. Gets up totally frustrated. Peterson the first one there, and a loss of 9.
Yeah, I think Lofa Tatupu's playing some games with Ben Roethlisberger. Ben thinks that he has some guys open, and then Tatupu's getting underneath him and taking it away. You know, each time here now that Ben has thought he had a guy, Tatupu's gotten underneath it. And you know, this Seattle defense, you're not going to be able to stand back in the pocket and hold it. They're an athletic, very quick group, and they pursue the quarterback very well.
6th sack of the season for Julian Peterson, leads all linebackers, and that is into the ground, incomplete. 3rd down coming up for the Steelers, and let's go for a game break. Here's Kurt.
All right, St. Louis and Arizona. Gus Frerotte got the start this week in place of the banged-up Mark Bulger, making it pay off. Finds Drew Bennett for the touchdown, and the Rams have the lead 10-3. And by the way, Troy, Jimmy says he's scratching his head trying to remember how many quarterback sneaks he ran.
Well, that's a good question, Kurt, because when Jimmy was the head coach for my first 7 years in the league, we didn't even have that in our playbook. And then Barry Switzer put it in. And so the next time we had a short yardage situation in our next game, everyone in the stadium knew we were going to run it. We didn't make the first.
Might be a topic on grumpy old coaches next week. 3rd down and 19. Roethlisberger in trouble. Davenport on the catch, but he's brought down way short of first down yardage. And again, it's Julian Peterson in on the play. A gain of 6. It's 4th down, and just when you thought the Steelers were getting some traction, they're stopped.
I tell you, this Seattle defense, I mean, you've got to be impressed with the group that they've got. A lot of the same players that they had last year, but then they brought in a couple of other players through free agency, one of those being Patrick Kearney, and then, of course, they replaced their 2 safeties, but they are playing exceptionally well again here in this game.
Sepulveda hits it. Burleson waits for it, and he goes down. In the arms of Tyrone Carter. Talk about that defense for Seattle when we come back. Seahawks have it. Still no score. No score with 8:07 left. Talked about that Seattle defense. No score as we get ready for another possession by the Seahawks. Tim Ruskell, who's the president and GM since 05, has done a great job in helping to build up that defense, and it is certainly on display here today. Throw, completion. Obamanu is wrestled out of bounds by Ike Taylor. And it was Ruskell who has pulled the trigger on a lot of the guys that have built up this defense. As you said, Troy, Seattle really has been a team known for its offense, but with guys like Tatupu and playing without Marcus Tubbs, who they lost and is on IR. But Rocky Bernard and Julian Peterson and Marcus Trufant, the 2 new safeties, they've got a lot of pieces there that they like.
Yeah, they really do, and I think they've done a good job with the players that they've brought in. This year, Patrick Kearney, Brian Russell, Deion Grant. You know, Julian Peterson a year ago, those have been good pickups for them.
Alexander swallowed up in the backfield by Aaron Smith. They had Seneca Wallace in the lineup. They faked a reverse to him. A loss of 3, and that will add to the yardage and bring up 3rd and 5.
Yeah, this is just a very difficult defensive team to try to bounce things to the outside. Sean Alexander is not running with any confidence. And when you get off to a slow start, then it's hard to ever start running with confidence within that game. You combine that with the fact that he's injured and he doesn't feel that he can run as aggressively as what maybe he'd like. You know, all of those things are not helping him.
Seneca Wallace in its slot receiver. He was open and Hasselbeck missed him. Seneca Wallace, again, the backup quarterback, a great athlete. They have it wide out in the slot, and he was ready for the pass.
Yeah, and it's a good route on his part. I mean, there was really nobody there covering him, but he got his depth. He squared it off and had a chance to pick up the first down if Hasselbeck's just able to deliver a ball lower. I mean, Matt Hasselbeck is not completing a very high percentage of his passes here today. He's a 67% passer on the year, and he's a guy who has much more accuracy than what he has shown in this game.
Another punt by Plaquemire. It takes a bounce, and Rossum does what he can with it. 48-yard punt. 4-yard return. Hasselbeck takes a little hit at the end of the throw. And Seneca Wallace, he knows what it's like on the other side of it. Now he's a real wide receiver. He's frustrated. When Deion Branch was being carted off, he was telling somebody in the seats that he'd be back. Got his sprained foot looked at, and now he's pointing out whoever that was in the stands who said something to him on his way out. Pittsburgh has the ball. They fake the throw and they hand off. Willie Parker picks up 4. The Seattle defense has been impressive at every level. Up front, the linebacker level, the secondary, it's all working for John Marshall, the defensive coordinator.
I think the thing that's most impressive to me is how well they have held up against the run, because again, they're not an overly big group. You know, you'd think that maybe the Steeler offensive line would be able to wear them down, but that hasn't happened.
A juggle on the toss, and that throws off the timing of that play. Parker loses one. Let's go to Kurt with another game break.
All right, let's go to Washington, where the Redskins are trying to outduel the Detroit Lions. Well, they're winning it so far. Jason Campbell to Chris Cooley for the score. It's only a 7-0 ball game between these two offenses, Joe, Troy, and Pam.
All right, Kurt. And it's Dallas with a 4-0 start leading the East. Washington 2-1. They had their bye week last week, playing without Santana Moss today. A stunt up front, a blitz from Seattle, and the pass is caught by Miller. Heath Miller is wrestled, but not until he picks up a first down for Pittsburgh.
Well, this time they bring Tutupu and they bring Julian Peterson inside, and that's where the pressure came on Roethlisberger, but he's able to step up, delivered a perfect ball there to Heath Miller for the first down. You know, when you look at offensive football and kind of what gets you going, I mean, this is still a game about third downs, and you've got to be able to convert those to keep drives alive and then ultimately turn those into points. It's a big first down. We'll see here what they're able to do with it.
Blitz, Roethlisberger goes down to Tupu. He finally gets his first sack of the season. That marks the ball all the way back at the 35, a loss of 8.
You're going to see him. He's right here coming inside. You're going to watch they do a pull there with the offensive line. Kendall Simmons pulls, the tackle blocks down, and then Lofa Tutupu, because of his speed, is able to run right by Willie Colon, the right tackle.
6 tackles today for Tutupu, and that sack, his first of the season.
142.
Handoff to Davenport. Najee Davenport bouncing off tacklers. First down and more. What a tremendous block by Nate Washington on that big run of 45 yards from Davenport.
Well, just a good run here, not knowing that they'd have enough to pick up a first down, but see what they could get out of it. You know, Najee Davenport, just a big man once he gets out into space. You can see the block, you know, close because he didn't get to his front side. And I think that because Leroy Hill was engaged with Davenport, they let that one go.
They missed the downfield blocking of Hines Ward, who's one of the best wide receivers in that category. Washington doing what he can to help spring Davenport. Willie Parker gets this one, picks up 3. Davenport came in. We all know him from his days with Green Bay, averaging over 7 yards a carry, and that was an impressive run and may very well set up the first points of the day.
Yeah, and you talk about the the way that these wide receivers block. And they, they admit, Bruce Arians says we don't even have to talk to our wide receivers about blocking in the run game. Hines Ward and what all he does when he's out there playing, he sets the standard, and all of the other younger receivers, they want to be like him, and so they become good blockers themselves.
2nd down and 7. Play action. Roethlisberger has to come underneath to his fullback. Kerry Davis, and a gain of 4. They'll bring up 3rd down.
Yeah, and this is an area for Pittsburgh to where they've had some problems. Once they've gotten down in here in the red zone, they've not punched them in as touchdowns as much as what they would like. Currently 24th in the National Football League in red zone offense. Of course, last week, that is, Ben Roethlisberger had a costly interception against Arizona.
That music means it's the 2-minute warning here in Pittsburgh. 3rd down and 3 for the Steelers when we come back. Still no score. 2 minutes left. We look at Big Ben in the red zone. 04-05. 23 touchdown throws, no interceptions. Last year plus 16 touchdowns and the 6 picks in the red zone, the most in the NFL.
Yeah, and as I said, one of those coming last week. And I know in his first 2 years, one of the things I was always very impressed with Ben Roethlisberger is that he didn't force a lot of balls, and that graphic showed that, especially once you got down here in the red zone. Now, Seattle defensively, they're also very good defensively in this area.
It's only the 7th time they've led a team into the red zone. Third down and 3. End zone. Miller, touchdown.
Hey, take a look at what they do. They go trip set here, and then they're going to go Heath Miller one-on-one on the backside. That's a great look right here for where the quarterback can throw the ball and where Heath Miller can get into in order to get that touchdown. Well executed play for the Steelers.
And it didn't help that Trufant slipped when Miller made his break, and now the extra point. Now, I'll say this for Ben Roethlisberger. Got off to that great start. We talk about the red zone numbers, and he does have the 6 picks. But Ben Roethlisberger to me is everything that Rex Grossman isn't. He doesn't make the key mistake typically. Doesn't have to be Marino. But when it's there, he hits his receiver. He gets Heath Miller and puts the Steelers on top. Visa halftime report coming up. Kurt, Terry, Howie, and Jimmy have scores and highlights from around the league. The Fox Sports ticker will update you with up to the second stats. Who would have thought in this first half the big play would come on the legs of Najee Davenport? 45-yard run, 3rd longest run of his career, set it up, and then Roethlisberger found Heath Miller in the end zone to cap the drive and put up the first points of the day. Obamanu on the return will take it from inside the end zone and not make the 20. Let's go back to the touchdown.
Yeah, take a look again. Here's the trip set right here at the bottom of your screen, and then what that does is it gives you one-on-one on the backside with Heath Miller. This is one of the things that Bruce Arians likes to do. You're going to see Ben Roethlisberger. He knew immediately he had one-on-one, as you see there, to Heath Miller. Now he's going to look to his left to make sure he holds all underneath coverage, and nobody gets underneath Heath Miller. I know in talking with Mike Tomlin, one of the reasons he hired Bruce Arians is because the problems he's presented in 3rd downs. That was a great example.
Now what's Seattle going to do with it? All 3 of their timeouts left and just nothing downfield. To the 20 from Hasselbeck to Alexander, a gain of only 3 yards, and the clock continues to run. Again, 3 timeouts, but this is a Seattle passing game that's been shut down.
Yeah, and you always, Seattle at least huddled up, because you always run the risk of, yeah, we want to get into a hurry-up offense and come away with some points, give ourselves a chance, but you don't want to give the ball back to Pittsburgh.
Hasselbeck underneath again. Alexander hangs on after the hit, picks up 3.
And I'm a little surprised right now that Pittsburgh's not burning a timeout.
Yeah, they've got 3 left. They could get the ball back.
because Seattle's going to let this thing run down as much as they can. So therefore, if they don't pick up the first down and have to punt, they're going to leave very little time on the clock left for Pittsburgh offensively.
Yeah, I'm surprised as well. It's a good point. Seneca Wallace at the top of the screen. 3rd down and 4. A blitz from the Steelers, and left alone is Burleson. And now the complexion of the rest of this half changes entirely. Obamanu, rather, with a 30-yard catch out of bounds just inside the 47-yard line of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and now Seattle can go on the attack.
Yeah, and this is really what Mike Holmgren was expecting, is because Pittsburgh does like to do so many different things. Occasionally, they will leave zones open. They completely left Obamanu open there on the corner route. Easy completion, and now all of a sudden you're going to see Seattle going to overdrive and try to come away with some points.
3 timeouts remaining for the Seahawks, down by 7. Another blitz from the Steelers. Hasselbeck in trouble, and down he goes. James Ferrier was there, and a loss of 4. And Seattle acting as if they don't know they have any timeouts.
Yeah, I think they could have used a timeout there themselves.
Here's a completion. That's the tight end, Marcus Pollard. And now they'll spend a timeout. A flag is down back where Hasselbeck let the play go.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense number 27, low hit on the quarterback. 15-yard penalty, first down.
That's Anthony Smith, but they've let so much time go off the clock, there's only 12 seconds left.
You see there Anthony Smith going down low, and they're quick to call that. Anytime a defender looked like he was losing his balance, but anytime a defender gets down around the knees and legs of a quarterback, they're going to draw the flag. And Anthony Smith, as he likes to do, he likes to tell you about it after he gets up. But you're right, Joe. I mean, I thought they could have used a timeout earlier, but now because of that penalty, now they're in a very good position with still having they still have 3 timeouts. That I think they've got 2 plays to run here. I think they're going to have a hard time getting 3 off even with 3 timeouts left.
Hasselbeck, corner of the end zone, and out of the reach of Obamanu. Now 7 seconds remain. And scrambling around, killing time off the clock with all these timeouts. Then they get the completion, the penalty on top, but they have time maybe for one more offensive play.
Yeah, I think they wasted some time on this drive, no doubt.
End zone, Obamanu, and it's picked off. Intercepted by Taylor. He's had a shot at 2. He finally gets one on his 3rd try at a pick. And that's the way the first half comes to a close. No touchdowns allowed in the first half all season long by this Steeler defense, and what a way for it to end. 7-0. Visa halftime show coming right up. Celebration there for the Steelers as Roethlisberger and Pittsburgh, they cash in on their red zone opportunity. And Troy, that last drive for Seattle ends in frustration, and really was a frustrating half for the Seahawks.
Yeah, and on the last drive, I mean, there were some things there that clearly would have allowed them to save a little bit of time. If they had had that time, would they have not felt so much pressure to rush things there at the end? But on the last play, you know, I thought the route that Obamanu ran was one that was not real good. Now you're going to see him come off the ball. It's very lackadaisical, his approach coming off the ball, and then Hasselbeck is a little late with the throw. But you know, all of a sudden without Deion Branch, and you're throwing to a guy you haven't had a lot of work with, you know, how much confidence do you have? Clearly that was a throw that Hasselbeck wishes he had back.
Fantasy update. You can log on to foxsports.com on MSN or NFL.com. Roethlisberger, no mistakes. I said going to break, comparing him to Rex Grossman, and obviously here's a guy who's won a Super Bowl. Rex Grossman got to one, didn't win it. He does not make the killer mistake And he's got such a good defense, he can not have to be a Dan Marino or a Brett Favre slinging it all over the place. And he had a workmanlike first half that ended with that throw and the touchdown to Heath Miller.
And I think that's been the big difference this year for Ben Roethlisberger is the way in which he has protected the football. He's done a very nice job, as you said. He did that throughout the first 2 years of his career. You know, last year he got off to a tough start. You know, he threw 7 interceptions over the first few ball games and no touchdowns. And you know, when you get off to that kind of start, it's hard to overcome that. And he wound up leading the league in interceptions. And I think some of the things that they're doing again here offensively has got him confident once again. And they haven't run the ball real well here today, but obviously that helps a quarterback out a great deal also.
Well, they're going to start with a run and try and get something established, and it's Willie Parker bouncing it to the outside and picking up 8. The biggest run in that half was by Najee Davenport, the 45-yard run, which set up the points. And in Roethlisberger's defense last year, he was coming off that motorcycle accident, coming off the facial fractures and trying to work his way back into playing shape, and then he came out of the gate and just wasn't ready to play.
I don't think there's any question, and you know, when you consider that and what he did go through and how it did take him some time to really get comfortable. He lost a great deal of weight coming into season last year that, you know, typically after a traumatic injury, it is the year 2 before you really get comfortable again.
And trying to get comfortable running it is Willie Parker, who picks up a first down. Right down by Rocky Bernard. First down after a gain of 5.
And Willie Parker, from what I've seen, Joe, he's a guy who really gets better as the game goes along. And the more carries he gets, it seems that the more productive he then becomes. I mean, everybody thinks of Willie Parker as this speed demon, which he certainly is, but a bulk of his yards are really inside. He's a very physical runner. You know, everyone wants to label somebody. In addition to speed, he's a physical player inside.
From the 32, first down, and the pass is complete to Nate Washington. Let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Yeah, Joe, I asked Mike Holmgren what he can do to get this offense going. He said, first of all, we just got to keep playing. He said, we've missed a couple of throws, but if we can make a play here, make a play there, we should be fine. Deion Branch with the sprained foot, x-rays were negative on that. Back to you.
Well, that's good news. That's a weapon that if the Seahawks want to do anything offensively, they need Deion Branch in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, you think about how little time these two guys, Hasselbeck and Deion Branch, have really gotten to work together since Branch joined the Seattle Seahawks, and now he's down with another injury.
Second down and 1. Handoff is to Parker. Penalty flag comes in as Parker makes a move and hops out at the 25. And it's coming back. It's a hold against Pittsburgh.
Holding offense, number 80. 10-yard penalty.
So that negates a 33-yard run by Willie Parker as Cedric Wilson trying to block downfield. Held.
Yeah, they're able to get Willie Parker on the outside, and here's why. That was a good call there on the hold. Cedric Wilson on Marcus Trufant. He's trying to come out and then make a play. But because of the grab, he was unable to. You know, oftentimes we talk about how well these Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers block. But that time he just got his hands out away from him to keep Trufant from getting in on the tackle.
In the end, after the penalty, with the yardage taken away at the end of the run, it's enough for a first down. 1st and 10 for Pittsburgh. Steelers lose a lot of field position, and Najee Davenport, who had the single biggest play in the first half, picks up 2.
Tackled by Peterson.
So here are the Steelers with a record of 3-1 under first-year head coach Mike Tomlin. I don't know what your feeling is, Troy, on us doing games now where the head coach is younger than us, but it doesn't feel good.
It does not feel good, and you know, there seems to be more and more of those guys.
Mangini's 36. Lane Kiffin could be your kid. He's 32. 2nd and 8. Handoff is to Parker, and he loses 2. Meanwhile, they're 3-1. They have a bye week next week, so they hope to get healthy next week. Then they've got a date with the Broncos and then 3 consecutive games within their division in the AFC North.
Yeah, and when you consider why it is that Hines Ward's not playing and Casey Hampton and Troy Polamalu, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they are off next week, and rather than risk any further injury, let them have this week off. They're hopeful that they can get through this game with a victory, and then another week so that they won't have lingering effects towards the middle and later part of the year.
3rd down and 10. Little pump fake from Roethlisberger. Davenport underneath. Rumbling for the first down. A penalty flag comes in again. They mark Davenport out of bounds, but it looks like another
holding. Offense number 83. 10-yard penalty. 3rd down.
That's Heath Miller, who has the touchdown. Guilty of a hold right here.
Yeah, here's Heath Miller. Take a look and see whether or not he was in fact holding. I don't know about that one. I mean, he turned and was able, he had his hands. Usually if you have the hands inside the framework of the chest, they're not going to call holding. I'm not sure I agree with that call.
Would have been a 26-yard play on the completion to Davenport. Instead, it moves the ball back inside the Pittsburgh 40.
You know, the other part of it, Joe, is I don't know that the guy would have been able to make a play on that one anyway, even if Heath Miller had not have been called for the hold.
Injury timeout. Marvell Smith is coming off the field. 3rd down when we come back. It is still hot. 81 degrees. Humidity 59%. It is warm down on that field. 3rd down and 13 for the Steelers, who have had 2 big holding calls to negate big plays. Max Starks takes over at left tackle for Marvell Smith, who left limping off the field. A blitz from the Seahawks. Roethlisberger throws and completes to Cedric Wilson for the first down.
Well, Ben Roethlisberger, he really is in a groove. I mean, he's seeing what the defense is giving him, and he knows where he's going with the ball. Watch right here. Brian Russell, he's going to work to the middle. There he knows he has one-on-one on the outside, and Ben keeping his eyes down the field, holding everything underneath, and then comes right back. And I can tell you, as a quarterback, when you get a pre-snap read like that, and Seattle is giving him some pretty good looks, and you can throw the ball with that kind of confidence, you're going to complete a lot of passes in this league.
Play action. Roethlisberger trying to stay hot. Penalty flag in the area of a hold. Cedric Wilson can't hang on.
Holding. Offense number 74. 10-yard penalty. 1st down.
Seattle offensively has not had a holding call against them all season long. The Steelers have had 3 on this drive.
When you think back to last week and all the false starts that they had playing on the road, I mean, it killed a number of drives. Here on this drive, I mean, they've had a couple of big plays that have been brought back because of penalties along that offensive line. And even though they didn't connect on the last play, I mean, they had a chance for a home run there to Cedric Wilson. Whether they would have gotten it, it didn't matter because it was going to come back. But, right now they're self-destructing up front.
Ball is at the Pittsburgh 44. The Steelers have to get to the Seattle 36 for a first down. Handoff is to Willie Parker. Picks up a yard and a half. Look ahead to next week. Troy Aikman and Kenny Albert will be in Green Bay for the Washington Redskins and the Green Bay Packers. Eagles and Jets, and then late it's a single-header weekend next week on Fox, the Panthers and the Cardinals. And I think, while we've got Seattle here, I think the Cardinals, with the Pittsburgh tie, Ken Wisenhunt and Russ Grimm, that is a team to be reckoned with now.
I think it is now more than ever, because last week's win against this Steeler team, which I believe is a really good football team, had to have done a lot for that team's morale.
2nd and 18. A blitz from the Seahawks, and Roethlisberger spins out of the control of Terrell and completes it to Cedric Wilson. That was impressive and shows the strength of Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, and you see this a lot from Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, I saw it last week. You go back to his rookie year, you see he's a hard guy to bring down. And it's not because he's overly fast. He's just so big and strong that you can't get him down with arm tackles. And now you've got Cedric Wilson, who again, is playing because of the injuries. He stays alive. He started to go over the middle. He sees Roethlisberger scrambling out to his left. He goes with him. It basically becomes a scramble drill and a nice completion. Here's that bunch set again right here that Arians likes to use so much.
And on 3rd and 7, with the ball just outside the Seattle 43, Pittsburgh spends a timeout. Tying a record with their 5th Super Bowl victory. 4 with Mr. Bradshaw at quarterback and 1 with Big Ben. 2005 world champs, that game in Detroit. Terrible towels were out in full force that day, and Mike Holmgren thought he might have a flashback today here in Pittsburgh. 3rd down and 7. Four-man rush by Seattle. Underneath, Heath Miller, 1st down. 13-yard completion on 3rd and 7.
We're talking a little bit earlier about the ability of Heath Miller. You're going to see him coming across the field here, and Jordan Babineau picks him up. He wasn't in man coverage. He sees him come into his zone, and then he goes with him. But that's a pretty good idea there as the type of ability that Heath Miller has.
You talked about not a lot of people are aware of him, not even within his own division. People talk about Todd Heath. But Heath Miller, one of the top targets for Ben Roethlisberger, as Willie Parker brought down by Patrick Kearney, a gain of 3. Patrick Kearney adds something to this Seattle defense, coming off the other side with Peterson on the other side of the defense.
I think Patrick Kearney, I just think he's an exceptional player. And you think back a couple of years ago when they brought in Grant Wistrom, who had been with the St. Louis Rams, and he provided great leadership for this team, and now he's retired. They bring in Patrick Kearney, and he's really the same type of player. Great leader, hard-working guy, has fit in exceptionally well into this defensive scheme.
2nd and 7. Roethlisberger spins out of 1 sack, but can't get out of that one. It's Ellis Wims, who was picked up September 3rd. Longtime Tampa Bay Buccaneer, and a loss of 10.
Yeah, they're starting to get a little bit of movement now up front, and you're going to see the pressure that they're able to get there on Ben Roethlisberger. Initially, Terrell misses him, but then Wims is able to finish him off. And right now, this Seattle defense they've just got to be tired. I mean, you look at it, the Steelers have controlled the time of possession over 35 minutes in this ball game, and it's had more to do with Seattle not doing much offensively than it has had to do with Seattle not doing a better job of getting off the field. Although this drive, they've done a good job.
8.5-minute drive so far. Big 3rd down, throw, catch. And a 1st down for the Steelers. Cedric Wilson has been huge on this drive.
Yeah, I just think right now Ben Roethlisberger is feeling very confident throwing the football, especially once he's able to get out on the move. You're able to see everything that's out in front of you, what's underneath, where the dangers are, and Cedric Wilson's been a part of some pretty good plays already.
Well, he got to the 1st down marker and then went alongside it, stayed behind it, and by half a yard, Wilson had enough. Willie Parker left side to the edge. Fast Willie Parker's going to dive, and they're going to mark him in for the touchdown. It'll be interesting to see a replay of the end of this play. Mike Green on the stop. His hand got there, but did the ball?
As you well know, the ball now, they've had a change in the rule. The ball has to come across the goal line inside the pylon, which it did not.
And now a challenge flag has been thrown by Mike Holmgren. One official was going to mark him out at the 1. The other came in at the very end of the play and said touchdown. He stays in bounds. The left hand gets the pylon, but the ball looks like it's out shy of the goal line.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. Now, what we're hearing from the crowd here is they see the hand there hit the pylon.
But the runner did not cross the goal line.
And prior to this year, the goal line extended around the world, so you did not have to have the ball cross inside the pylon. But I think this one's going to be ruled not a touchdown.
We'll get the call when we come back. Willie Parker came into this game with
goal line pylon. The ball we placed just inside the 1-yard line. First and goal. Seattle is not charged with a team timeout.
So he'll stay with 1 touchdown as the call is given by Terry McCauley. Pretty definitive look along the sideline. And it will be first and goal from the 1.
Yeah, I think this was a pretty easy call for those officials to make. That even though the hand touched the pylon, again, the ball did not cross the goal line inside the pylon. Now, what's interesting right now is that Najee Davenport is in at tailback. I know in talking with Bruce Arians yesterday, he said that Willie Parker is their short yardage goal line back unless he is tired. So therefore, Davenport is in after that run. Parker getting his rest on the sidelines.
Davenport gets it and does not get in. Julian Peterson is such a tremendous athlete. When he was with San Francisco, they moved him all over the field. They didn't sign him. Seattle did, and they're thrilled that they made that decision.
Well, Julian Peterson is just one of those special players, and he sees Davenport try to go up over the top of the pile. You know, everybody else goes low. Peterson on the backside is then responsible for the cleanup with the back trying to go over the pile.
It's been a 10-plus minute drive here to start the second half. Davenport again, and he's in this time. Touchdown Steelers as Davenport gets his second of the season.
Well, what an impressive drive to open up this third quarter and overcome the things that they overcame in order to even get down in this position to punch it in.
3 big holding calls that brought the ball back. They take 2 steps forward, 1 back, and they march their way down the field in a drive that took over 10 minutes. Good hold there by Sepulveda to get the high snap, get it down. It's 14-0. And a couple of the walking wounded enjoying it on the sideline for Pittsburgh. A couple of big plays set up the 2 touchdowns for the Steelers today, and both by those 2 guys. A 19-yard run by Willie Parker set up the last touchdown. The 45-yard rumble by Najee Davenport set up the first. And while it goes down as an 80-yard drive, Pittsburgh actually gained 110 yards of offense, but because of all those penalties, kept having to go back and retrace their steps. Seahawks have 111 yards for the game. Obamanu from the end zone. Tripped up and brought down by William Gay. A return of 25 yards. The run by Willie Parker set it up. Najee Davenport punched it in. 14-0 Steelers. Seattle hasn't had the ball in the second half. They know how to pump up a crowd here at Heinz Field. Showing highlights of the defense, which has been terrific today. False start. Overwhelming crowd noise.
False start. Offense, number 65, illegal snap. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Now, it's just really hard for an offensive line, you know, in this kind of noise to be able to hear the quarterback. We saw Matt Hasselbeck. He looked back. It appeared that he was changing the play. You know, you get into an environment like this, sometimes it's better just to get up and get the ball snapped, keep the play on.
Handoff is to Alexander, who has not been a factor all day. Ferrier and Ike Taylor out there to make the stop for Pittsburgh. And when you talk about controlling the football, it has been owned by the Steelers.
Yeah, and I think it's important, you know, I mean, this drive right here, in order to just keep Pittsburgh offensively on the sideline and then rest the defense for Seattle. I mean, right now, Sean Alexander has not been a factor. If they're going to move the football, it's going to be because of Matt Hasselbeck in this receiving corps.
A blitz off the edge. Hasselbeck with time fires high but complete to Ingram. 11-yard completion, 3rd and short coming up.
You know, and you check out again the protection that this offensive line gives him. Sean Alexander doing a good job picking up the blitz off the edge. And then Hasselbeck delivering a pretty good ball, which now at least gives them a manageable 3rd down.
Quick throw and the ball incomplete for Obamanu.
And Obamanu, he's played some, but he came back last week after missing the first 3 games. So here's a guy who has not played a great deal, certainly has not gotten much work with Matt Hasselbeck, and yet he's being relied on here in this game because of Deion Branch going down. And you know, that's tough on a quarterback when you're working with a guy in these types of situations and not having a great deal of confidence in what he's going to do.
Good punt by Plaquemire. Rossum.
You're good, you're good.
Penalty flag is down on the punt as Rossum tried for the return and basically threw it out of bounds at the 25.
During the kick, illegal block in the back. Kicking team, number 24.
So they get Deion Grant with a block in the back. Yeah, they called the wrong side. That's on Ike Taylor.
That's right.
And he said kicking team. It was on the receiving team, and that could be a big penalty. The ball right now is at the 25.
Correction, the foul was on the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, 1st down, timeout.
I think he's plugged into you.
Well, Terry McCauley and I just have that kind of a deal going when we get matched up. Steelers with the ball, up 14. After the penalty on Ike Taylor, the ball will be at the 15-yard line for Roethlisberger, who's thrown for 161 yards. Willie Parker is starting to find his groove, and Heath Miller, 3 catches and a touchdown. And we'll see just how gassed that Seattle defense is on this abnormally hot October day in Pittsburgh. Seahawks defense needs to step up and make some plays. That's a good start. Willie Parker to his right picks up 2.
Yeah, this becomes an awfully big possession for this Seattle defense. I mean, it's a defense that's played a lot. They've been on the field a lot. But they've got to be able to find a way to keep Pittsburgh from being able to come away with any more points and keep this a 2-possession game. Still early, obviously, still plenty of time.
2nd down and 8.
But you sense that Pittsburgh offensively is really starting to find their rhythm, especially with what they were able to do on that last possession.
Kevin Bentley is in there at linebacker in place of Leroy Hill. Kudavidi's in there as well. And this one is Miller, and that's a 1st down. 1st down, Pittsburgh. Let's go to Kurt Menefee for a game break.
The St. Louis Rams hadn't scored an offensive touchdown since the 1st quarter of week 2. Now they're just getting greedy. Gus Frerotte, his 2nd TD pass of the day, this time to Torrey Holt, and they lead the Cardinals 20-17. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
All right, Kurt, in a game that's blacked out in St. Louis.
I say, too bad no one in St. Louis is able to watch it.
There'll be a lot of fans there welcoming back Kurt Warner, who's the part-time quarterback for the Cardinals these days. Willie Parker runs into a wall, picks up 2.
Maybe that's the key, though. Maybe they play better when no one's watching them.
Well, could be something to. I don't know, though, that they want to go down that path, because this has been a franchise that's been there, won a Super Bowl, and it's on the slide right now. They need something to stop the momentum going backward. And if a home blackout works, then whatever floats your boat.
Hey, that's your town.
We were there last week in Dallas when they got run over by the Cowboys and saw how injured Mark Bulger, who's from Pittsburgh, as is Gus Frerotte, was, and Frerotte gets the start today. 2nd and 8. A blitz coming from Seattle. Parker tries to run right by it, and he is tripped up by Peterson at the end. It's a first down for Pittsburgh, but Julian Peterson just saved a huge play.
Yeah, I mean, they got a real push along that offensive line. Watch Alan Faneca, 6-time Pro Bowl player, and what he's able to do leading up in front, you know, and giving Willie Parker a place to run right off of him. And you know, you think back over the years of all the great linemen really that have been a part of this Pittsburgh Steelers organization. There have been several, and Alan Faneca following in that tradition.
Yeah, there's nobody better than Faneca, and he's maybe winding down his time with the Steelers. That's Davenport. Faneca is unsigned past this year. They've already locked up Kendall Simmons, and there's a big market for guards out there set by Steve Hutchinson, who left Seattle, went to Minnesota. I don't know if the Steelers are going to cough up that kind of money, but he's a good one. That's the end of 3 quarters. 14-zip Steelers. Back after this from your local Fox station. Look at the numbers in the 3rd quarter. 3 offensive plays run by Seattle, covering a minute and a half. Otherwise, all Pittsburgh. A touchdown and a 14-point lead. 2nd and 9. Hasselbeck's been doing a lot of that. Walking on the sideline with a hat on. Jennings coming on a blitz. This one's floated for Cedric Wilson. This has been an impressive day by Ben Roethlisberger.
Just really nice touch by Ben Roethlisberger. He had 2 guys going deep. You're going to see Cedric Wilson coming through here and Nate Washington going to the post. But Ben Roethlisberger really just lays it nicely right over the head there of Lofa Tatupu and makes the completion. Right? You know, I said it that, you know, Ben Roethlisberger, he can get in these hot streaks as he is today. And when you have those as a quarterback, you just see the entire field. And it's pretty obvious from here watching him that he sees the field exceptionally well.
12 straight completions from Roethlisberger as Willie Parker carries the pile down inside the 40 to the 39.
And I think that the thing that makes it even probably more impressive, I know that, you know, we've been talking about Matt Hasselbeck and how he's doing it, you know, without Deion Branch, and then also the injury there to Sean Alexander. But, I mean, let's be fair about this. Ben Roethlisberger is doing it without their leading receiver Hines Ward, and then their number 2 guy Santonio Holmes, and he's having great success moving the football.
New England's about to do it again, up 20-3 over Cleveland. See those scores scroll by. Very involved Cedric Wilson at the bottom of your screen, and a handoff is to Willie Parker, who gets an extra pop from Russell. A gain of 4. It's 3rd down coming up. Brian Russell replaces Ken Hamlin, who's now with the Cowboys. Michael Boulware was at strong safety last year. Now it's Deion Grant, working in concert with 2 very good corners. 1st-round pick from a year ago, Kelly Jennings, and the 1st-rounder from 03, Marcus Trufant. 3rd and 2. A blitz from Seattle. Quick throw. Davenport just does not go down until he gets inside the 20. 6'1", 247 pounds, and the Seahawks cannot get him to the ground.
Yeah, and Davenport, you know, he really has not been much of a receiver. You know, during his career, came into this game with only 3 receptions, catches the ball and then breaks a tackle. And, you know, this is a Pittsburgh offense that feels very strongly about what they do within their third down packages. And if they can get it to third and medium, third and short, they're pretty confident they're going to convert, and generally they do.
On first down, Willie Parker over the right side to the 10. Willie's all pumped up. And you think about it for Pittsburgh, I mean, it's lining up very nicely. They're getting what could be like a doubleheader win. If they win the game, and then they get the off time for the guys to heal up, like Hines Ward and Polamalu and Casey Hampton. This could be a big day.
I think that's the thing that's so impressive right now about the way that Pittsburgh is playing. I mean, right now they're just wearing down this Seattle defensive line and defensive front 7, but then on the other side of the ball, without Polamalu and Casey Hampton, and them to be able to do what they're doing, slowing Seattle down, is impressive as well.
Second down and 1, Willie Parker, first and goal from the 5.
And you can always see it. You know, I talked a little bit earlier about how, you know, I feel that Willie Parker is one of those guys that just gets stronger the more carries that he gets. And we've seen that throughout this game. Seattle defensively in the first quarter did a good job of bottling him up. He started finding some spaces there in the second quarter. And then in the third and now into the fourth, he's starting to pick up some pretty good yards.
Another long drive, 11 plays, over 7 minutes. Parker left side, nowhere to go. Kudavides was in there. You can see them starting to shuffle in fresh guys. Kudavides is in that linebacker. Bentley. Craig Terrell, who had left earlier, is back in there for Seattle, but this defense has got to be just worn out.
Yeah, Pittsburgh came out the first possession of the third quarter and made a real statement with the drive that they put together to get their second touchdown. And right now, you know, this is the type of drive that just puts the game away. And as an offense, to be able to take the time off the clock and drive it right down the defense's throat, a pretty good feeling.
A toss to Davenport. Right side, easy touchdown.
He learned that in Green Bay.
So did that guy, Holmgren. And it's not been a good day on either side of the ball.
Yeah, I think it's been a real disappointment, obviously, for Mike Holmgren, because I really do feel coming into this game that he liked the matchups. He liked his team coming in and what they were able to do, and they just not performed like he expected.
21-0. Davenport gets his second of the day. Gives a little Hines hop. Big Ben celebrates with his lineman. And Mike Holmgren is hot and unhappy. As you look at the latest scoring drive for the Steelers, realize that the Seahawks in the second half have gained 12 yards of offense, while the Steelers have put up 195 yards. And Big Ben has completed 13 straight passes. Franchise record for the Steelers is 15. Returned by Obamanu.
Obamanu on the return.
Out across the 30. They'll mark him at the 34. Davenport having fun, and the rookie head coach having a ball, looking at a 4-1 start. Troy, that's got to be a great feeling for a quarterback when you prepare all week, you take on a good team like Seattle, you do your job, and you're as hot as Ben is.
Yeah, and he's been the reason why they've had the success they've had here today.
A blitz from Pittsburgh and not ready for the throw. Alexander, 2nd and 10.
And what I mean by that, Joe, is you know, when the game ends, I think it's going to be easy for everybody that really didn't watch this game closely to go back and say, you know, wow, they really ran the ball well. They ran it for over 140 yards or 50 yards or whatever it winds up being at the end of the day. But, you know, Ben Roethlisberger is the guy who kept this team in it when they were unable to run the football through the first half and into the early part of the third quarter, and then overcoming some of those long third down situations, and just played exceptional here today.
2nd and 10. And Hasselbeck throws it away. We've never seen Seattle look like this offensively. They are befuddled. Let's go for a game break. Here's Kurt.
Joe, here's something you haven't seen this season. The Giants, Jeremy Shockey with a touchdown catch. First one of the year for Shockey. Giants trying to come back against the Jets. It's a 3-point game. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
All right, Curtin, for a team that started 0-2, they've won 2 in a row and had that incredible performance last Sunday night defensively against the Eagles. 3rd down and 10. 5-man rush. Hasselbeck throws, and a fight for the ball. It's incomplete. Incomplete pass as Burleson tried to go around Ike Taylor. And now it's to the point where Hasselbeck's just throwing it into blanket coverage and hoping for the best.
Well, that's right, because nobody's getting open. I mean, take a look at Nate Burleson here against Ike Taylor. Ike Taylor's got his back to him, and Hasselbeck turns it loose, just hoping that somehow he can fit a ball into a pretty tight spot. And that's really how it has been for most of the day. Now, there have been some opportunities today that Matt Hasselbeck has not connected on when he could have had some big plays. But for the most part, this Steelers secondary has shut them down. And I think a big reason for that is not having a big play threat like Deion Branch on the field.
This is a Seattle team that's coming off a win at San Francisco, a thorough beating of the 49ers last week. Here's a fumble, and the Steelers hop right back on top of it. Allen Rawson fumbled it, and Andre Frazier was there to save the play for the Steelers. That's the look on the face of Hasselbeck all day long, and the same for Holmgren. Seahawks trailing 21-zip. 21-0 here in Pittsburgh. Who was under that? Who was that? We need to finish the story along with our producer Richie Zients, our director Artie Kempner, fresh off his high school reunion. We're back with you from Pittsburgh, where the Steelers have dominated. And now they'll start to run up the stats on the ground, with Willie Parker picking up 6. We look ahead to the ALCS. At least I do, Troy. I don't know about
I'll
you.
be following you.
Who will it be? Boston and the Angels are hooking up as we speak. And you've got the Indians leading 2-0 playing at Yankee Stadium later. We begin the ALCS on Friday in high def here on Fox. And we welcome our new player into the baseball postseason and wish the best of luck to TBS as they cover the NLCS starting on Thursday night. By the way, I don't know if you know it, Troy, but Frank Caliendo has a new show. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've heard something about that.
Willie Parker to the right side and picks up, actually loses 2, and it'll bring up 3rd down.
Caliendo doesn't do a Joe Buck yet, does he?
He can't. He's told me. He can't figure it out.
Oh, he can figure it out.
I know. I've challenged
I'll give him some ideas.
All right. Bring it. It's the greatest form of flattery, Troy.
That's what they tell me.
3rd down and 6. Davenport on the handoff, and he's brought down half a yard shy of a 1st down. What was your feeling being around this Steeler team and seeing Mike Tomlin and seeing this youthful head coach of 35 years old and what he brings to this franchise?
You know, I was impressed with him, Joe, and I asked him if he was surprised that he had gotten a head coaching job after only being a defensive coordinator there with the Vikings for 1 season. And you know, he said, I wasn't surprised because I'd only been a defensive coordinator for 1 year. I was surprised because our team was 6-10. And typically you don't get head coaching opportunities when the team collectively doesn't have success. But I think he's a good pick for this organization.
Yeah, seems to be. No doubt about that. He was playful before the game as he was today with his quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, and he is active. So are his assistant coaches during the game. They're all hopping around down there. Not LeBeau. He's more stately. But Tomlin's having fun. Mike Holmgren told you, Troy, if Hasselbeck gets hurt, we're in big trouble, and Seneca Wallace takes over here at quarterback. Down by 21, and he hands off to Alexander, and Sean Alexander's had nowhere to run since the opening kickoff.
No, he hasn't. I think it's a combination of some of the breakdowns here and there within the offensive line, but I honestly think it has more to do with Sean Alexander and what he's nursing there with that left hand. I think it's creating some problems, more problems than what he would probably admit to. And you're right. Mike Holmgren said we can't afford to lose Matt Hasselbeck. Matt said he came into this game as healthy as he's been in week 4 of a season, really at any point in his career.
Seneca Wallace fires, and somehow Marcus Pollard, the tight end, makes the catch, making it 3rd and a manageable 5 yards.
And in addition to not being able to afford to lose Matt Hasselbeck, one of the reasons why Seneca Wallace has not played more, as talented a guy as what he is at running routes, reverses, and put him in, let him throw some passes, off the reverse, those types of things we've seen him do the last couple of weeks, is because Mike Holmgren doesn't want to risk losing him as the backup quarterback. Now, as Charlie Fry gets more accustomed to the offense, then I think we'll see Seneca Wallace do a little bit more than what he's done. But it's a quarterback first.
3rd down and 4, and that quarterback, Seneca Wallace, is flushed out in big trouble and just throws it away. Being chased by Tyrone Carter, and it brings up 4th down. I mean, this is, we cover obviously the NFC on Fox on a much more regular basis than seeing these AFC teams. And there's no doubt that coming in, I think in both of our opinions, this is an elite NFC offense, and they have been thrown backward, frankly, by the Pittsburgh defense all day.
Yeah, and here they are with 130 yards or so of total offense. They're doing it without Troy Polamalu on defense and Casey Hampton and a number of guys on the offensive side of the ball for the Steelers. And so the Steelers are undermanned, and they're still not having success.
Allen Rawson, nice job on that return.
In coming to Pittsburgh and losing to a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is a good football team. I think that they're going to be there at the end. I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to be there at the end too. I mean, are there degrees of losses? I don't think so. I mean, if they had played well and lost, would they feel any better about themselves? I don't think that they would. And so they'll come out of this game, they'll regroup, they'll get ready, for their next ball game, and I think they'll be fine.
Handoff is to Parker. For Seattle, their next game is at home against New Orleans, then at home against St. Louis, then their bye week. 2nd down and 8 now for the Steeler offense while members of the defense get together. Hasselbeck and Seneca Wallace talk it over. I would say for the most part, outside of some missed tackles and a couple of big bursts on running plays, the Seattle defense has done a decent job on the running game of the Steelers.
Yeah, I think the big disappointment for them was coming out at halftime, and after they had time to regroup, rest, and whatever, that they couldn't get off the field there when the Steelers were backed up.
Kerry Davis in at tailback, and he is ripped to the ground by Chuck Darby. Under 5 to play. And the last time the Seahawks been shut out 115 games ago in 2000 against Miami.
And going back to Mike Tomlin and what I think of him, I think it's interesting. He was a wide receiver for 3 years. He was a starter at William and Mary as a wide receiver, and he went and became a graduate assistant as a defensive coach and really kind of fell in love with it. He then went on to Arkansas State and was a wide receivers coach for 1 year, and then went back to defense, and he's never looked back.
Handoff is to Kerry Davis, and that'll bring up 4th down.
And he says that what he likes, even though he was an offensive player as an athlete and very much enjoyed that coaching, he likes the urgency of coaching defense. And You know, on offense, if you have a bad play, it's 2nd and 10. On defense, if you have a bad play, you may have just given up a 60-yard touchdown. And so, you know, he likes the approach. He likes scheming against offenses. And, you know, he has been very, very good at it. I know talking to Brad Childress and what he meant to Minnesota, you know, Brad didn't expect to lose him after 1 season, but he wasn't surprised at how effective he was. He's a great leader of men, even at as young of age as what he is.
Sepulveda hits it. He's a good one. A rookie, 4th-round pick. Drives Burleson back, and Burleson hit immediately by William Gay. He's been very active on special teams today. Next week, I mentioned Kenny Albert will be with you, Troy, and Pam at Lambeau Field. The Green Bay Packers off to their 4-0 start and waiting for their game tonight against Chicago in Green Bay. Will host the Washington Redskins, also off to a good start with Jason Campbell at quarterback. We saw him in week 2, and they're up 24-3 today, so they're staring at a 3-1 start against a Green Bay team that at worst is going to come in 4-1.
Yeah, the Green Bay team. I mean, Brett Favre, after 4 games, has thrown the ball in those 4 games more than he has in any other 4 games to start a season, and yet he only has 2 interceptions. That's pretty remarkable.
Seneca Wallace going to run. And with forward progress, they give Seattle a rare first down. Carter on the stop, and we are under 3 minutes to play. And Seneca Wallace will just do what he can and try and move the ball here at the end of the game. You saw that baseball score go by with the Red Sox and the Angels no score in the second. Tonight, the Indians are at Yankee Stadium against Roger Clemens. If the Indians win one of the next 3 games, they're in the ALCS. Starting Friday here on Fox. Seahawks just picked up their first down of the half, and now a sack is added to it. Ferrier, Higgins, both in on it. And a penalty flag, a call against Seattle.
Illegal use of hands to the face. Offense number 43. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Fullback Leonard Weaver.
You know, and I understand you want to get to see Leonard Weaver. He's right here. I understand that you want to get Seneca Wallace some reps. You know, I mean, he played some last year when Matt Hasselbeck went down, and you know, you can never get enough experience. At the same time, knowing how valuable he is, as we talked about just a moment ago, you know, with the score what it is, and then with this Pittsburgh Steelers defense being able to apply the pressure like they can, I'm not so sure. I just wouldn't run this one out. Go get on the bus.
A blitz coming from the Steelers, and Alexander has one of his better runs of the day out to the 31. And that'll take us to the 2-minute warning here in Pittsburgh, where the Steelers are about to officially be 4-1 and the Seahawks 3-2 after 5 games. Pittsburgh a bye week next week. Seattle a home game against New Orleans. Take a break, come back. Final 2 minutes from Pittsburgh after this. AT&T postgame show coming up right after this game, plus bonus coverage. Plenty of early action still ongoing around the NFL. Good game in St. Louis, 2020 score for a game that fans of the NFC West and the Seahawks might have interest in. Giants just took a lead over the Jets as they've come back from a 10-point deficit. Incomplete for Will Heller. And it's 4th down.
Yeah, I think if the Giants were to go on and lose that game, what a disappointing loss that would be for them. You know, they've been one of those teams that have just, you know, really kind of been hot and cold, and then a big win last week against the Eagles, and you know, a game obviously today against the Jets that I'm sure they went in expecting to win fairly handedly.
For Sean Alexander, he has an NFL record that may come to an end here today. 68 straight games with a rush of 10 or more yards. His longest carry of the day, 8 yards. 1:50 left, and we'll go to Kurt Menefee for a game break. Kurt.
Well, Troy was just talking about the Giants against the Jets, and how about this? Practice? We're talking about practice? Plexico Burress doesn't practice because of a bad ankle, doesn't hurt him. His 7th touchdown reception of the year ties Randy Moss for the league lead. More importantly, Giants lead the Jets 28-24 in the 3rd. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
All right, I was saying as we went to break, that's a big jump up off the mat for the Giants, who were down by 10. Burress 5 catches, 124 yards, the touchdown. More information, go to foxsports.com or NFL.com. As I was throwing it to Kurt, penalty flag was thrown on the play, and they'll tack it on to the end of the punt play. It was prior to the kick, an infraction against Seattle. And now Charlie Batch takes over at quarterback, and Big Ben, he'll end the game with 13 straight completions. He was terrific all day. Batch hands off to Dan Kreider. So the two fullbacks are getting some carries here at the end, and here's Big Ben's day.
Well, you could just tell early on in this game that he was moving well within the pocket, but more importantly, he was seeing the field exceptionally well. And you know, I think one of the things that he does so well, he does a lot of things well, but one of the things that he does exceptionally well is he's able to move, particularly to his left. He's got one of the strongest arms that I've seen on a quarterback in the league today, and you know, he can throw it a good 65-70 yards without even having to take a step into the throw. And it allows him to deliver balls that a lot of other guys just can't do.
It's kneel down time. One thing you can't forget also was, Troy, that interception by Ike Taylor at the end of the first half. Not to say that changes the entire complexion of the game, but where Seattle had a shot to maybe tie it at the half or at least get 3 points, he gets the interception. And from that second on, it's been all Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well, you know, I've always believed that a team that's able to come away with points before the end of the half, even if it means they're still down, you know, that's a big momentum changer. And to not come away with points there, and then in addition to that, come out of the second half and give up the big drive to Pittsburgh offensively, I think those two things combined, they were just too much for the Seattle team.
Our game is being produced by Richie Zients, directed by Artie Kempner. Technical producer is Joe Stevens. Technical director is Colby Bourgeois. Audio mixer Fred Aldis. My thanks as always to Steve Horn, our editorial consultant. The associate directors are Greg Scopatoni and Derek Manning. Broadcast associates Zach Fields, Rich Gross. Special thanks to our Pittsburgh-based crew members, Mark Vasori, Paul Duda, and Mark DeMalin. Halftime show produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy. We'll take a break, come back. We'll be on the other side of the break, and then bonus NFL coverage for you today on Fox.